so legislation they abolished prayer. And they took out the wording of the moment of silence. Don't under the rug. It was read 2 times. It was read when it was motion not be 2 times interpretation. Have to rescind what they did for fearing of the Supreme Court cases going on in New York. Well, in that case, if they find in favor of the plaintiffs, it'll be a nationwide ban for prayer for 2 years. If they find in favor of the town that does it regularly, they'll keep it in court. So, but they are misreading the entire case, and they're fearing, and they would be proactive because again, by not being billed for a lawsuit. So, but
White man.
Yeah.
Call this February 18th council meeting to order. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance today by American Heritage Girl Scout Troop of Ohio 400 from OLR. And they'll lead us in the pledge as soon as they get up here. Okay, go ahead.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks, girls.
Let's call the roll.
Roll call. Grease.
Here.
Walter.
Here.
Hermes.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Walter. Here. Moore.
Here. Okay, at this time, we have some certificates to give out. And I'll read what the certificate says, and then we'll come out and distribute these. But it's the Village of Greenhills Global Pioneer Award to, and we'll have their person's name, in recognition of your contributions to the Greenhills community and the Wintonwood City School District, and your daring pioneer spirit, leaving the comforts of your home country and sharing your experiences with our community as a global ambassador. Presented this day, February 18th, 2014, at the Village of Greenhills Council meeting. So this will be the certificate to cherish the rest of your life.
Okay, I would start calling the names. Johnny Chan, please.
Thank you.
Jack Hu. Cecilia Ying. Louis Liu. Mike Pan. Jerry Suwon. Taiwan. Tracy Wong. Wendy Wu. David Wu. Ben Yan. Alan Zing. Michael Young. Benny Young. Roger Young. Joe. Zach Leo. Katharina Yu. Sean Ruan. The next one I have is from Germany, Mark Engelsch and Lisa Group. I have from the Philippines, Noni Lumbis. From Turkey, Duygu Kostum. Good job. From Spain, I have Julian Ibanez Martinez. And I also have the exchange teacher, Caroline Zhao. Do you have that one?
Unless somebody else has it. Okay, we'll get one for you.
I'll take it to the school, yeah.
You missed the only German student who is here, Lena Kuhler.
Lena Cooler.
Okay, and I don't think I have one. No, I do.
Yeah, you do.
You got that one.
Yeah.
Had them out of order. There we go.
Thank
Thank you.
Oh, no.
And if I mixed up any of the awards, trade them back or let us know. And I hope you all have a good time and learn a lot here in the country and enjoy yourselves. And you're welcome to stay, but if you have to go home and study, you can take off.
Thank you so much, parents, for bringing them over. I appreciate that.
Hey Greg, how you doing? I'm gonna make it. I got your neighbor with me. I'm your neighbor. Right. Oh, is that right? Awesome. That's great.
Dan's going up there too.
Hi, Cindy.
Okay, before we do the approval of minutes, Greg, would you want to lead us in a moment of silence?
We're all leading in a moment of silence.
Yeah.
I don't know Joe's last name. What was Joe's? Hendricks. Joe Hendricks passed away in December of 2013. And I just wanted to kind of have a little remembrance for Joe. just thinking about him and how he spent pretty much of his working life with Greenhills and leaving his family, and just give it a moment of silence and pray for Joe and his family.
Okay. Great, we have approval of minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes as presented by the clerk for the January 7th organizational meeting and regular council meeting and the January 21st work session for 2014.
Second.
Do we have any questions on the January 7th, January organizational meeting, the January 7th regular scheduled council meeting, or the January 21st council work session? Okay, if not, the minutes stand approved. The next item of business is residents to address council. This is the time for citizens to comment on matters before council or to ask questions of concern to them. When recognized, please come forward to the lectern and give your name and address and state your comments or questions. Council meetings are tape recorded for ease of transcription. Comments are limited to 2 minutes.
My name is Thad Wood. I live on Damon Road, Greenhills. First, I want to thank Jeff Holder for the fantastic job he did with the Island Greenhills festivities in advance. And he did a credit for the village, and I know he put a lot of work into it, and it showed, and we all appreciate it. On another note, I noticed we're selling a few pieces of property tonight, and I'm glad to see that, but I put a handout in front of you that I prepared. We have about 53 pieces of residential property still in our inventory. We'll have 4 less hopefully at the end of the night. But total appraised value, as far as we can tell, what figures I got, was about $1,325,000. And the total tax we're paying on those properties is a little less than $80,000. We have a new bond issue coming before the citizens for the school. And it's immaterial whether it passes or not, something's going to be done in the future because the school needs some major repairs. So we're looking at another $291 per 100,000 valuation, which means as a practical matter, the city is going to have to put out another $3,800 in taxes over and above the $79,000 we're paying in real estate taxes. And it's reached a point with all these properties, most of which are not rented, according to the records I've received, we're getting in a hole. Slowly but surely, we're getting nibbled to death by economic ducks. We've got insurance we're paying on, maintenance repairs, and it's an economic albatross about our neck. I would certainly recommend that we have a community development committee here, that they have some public meetings in the next 2 or 3 months, get citizen input as to what we should do with those properties, get some ideas, and then have that committee present to council a comprehensive, cohesive plan for how we're going to deal with these properties. We just can't let them sit. It's been 6 years, and it was a good idea that everyone thought we would work, but the bottom fell out. We can't do anything about that. We're in damage control at this point in time. Now, some of those properties, that they could be appropriately placed on the tax rolls to our benefit and sold, that's an advantage. Some of them we may not be able to repair. They may have to be destroyed, but at least if they do that, you can put it as public property and tax neutral. We're not paying taxes on them. We just can't continue the way we're going on this, because at the very end, I think Mr. Dries indicated previously last year that 2016 is really going to be a nasty year for us as far as making payments on the consumatic bonds we have. So I just strongly recommend that Mr. Holder and other people get together and let's get this problem resolved within the next year, because we waited long enough for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony Schuler, Ashby Street. Mayor, manager, council members. I want to start off by saying thanks for a fantastic job for the Greenhills Road crew for keeping up with plowing our streets and keeping it clear. Not only did council unlawfully adopt the so-called proactive ordinance 2014-01 LNR Rule 2, but it is unconstitutional as well. I too would like to thank the AHG Troop Ohio 400 for leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Each of my daughters were troop members of AHG, and one of the things I really admire about the AHG organization is their meeting procedures. Beginning from their flag ceremony, saying their AHG oath, pre-statements, and having prayer as part of their opening and closing ceremony. The City of Cincinnati Council has it written that they may open meetings with prayer. Our state capital, City of Columbus, council meetings are open with a prayer every meeting. The Ohio Senate and the House of Representatives of the state of Ohio both have worded in their order of business, prayer may be offered, and they do without fear to abandon the custom simply to appease someone's political agenda. For some people of faith, a moment of silence is just that, silence. Prayer is not implied, even when all evidence says that such a moment was created specifically for religious purposes. So why is it a disparity when our federal government says it's okay, but my village says it's not? There is so much case law to back up the protection of saying prayer during meetings. If any federal, state, or local law governs the procedure of, these same organizations, the AUSCS and its allies, along with other groups hostile to religious freedoms that are representing the plaintiffs in this lawsuit, want to do away with every reference of God on all public and private grounds. And by you caving in because of fear is only setting a precedence up for freedom from religion. During the January's Law and Rules Committee, the committee chair kept saying that he had problems ascertaining the issue. Well, I just want to help clear that up. It doesn't matter how long the custom was not for saying prayer. You can never conflict with a written rule. And now after 8 years longer, you want to amend the rule to incorporate your actions, your customs, by not saying prayer at all. If any federal, state, or local law governs the procedure of an organization, that law supersedes any conflicting provisions in any of the organizational rules. No member of council who takes seriously the oath sworn to uphold the Constitution, the Charter, and the ordinance of the Village of Greenhills can neglect the duty to preserve prayer. There are a lot of energetic people who are passionate about prayer. For the for Greenhills Council to abolish prayer has only set a precedence for other communities to possibly follow. Council has a constitutional duty to preserve prayer. Please rescind ordinance or amend ordinance 2014-01 LNR previously adopted by reinserting prayer back in Rule 2. I would urge all council members and law directors to take this under consideration ASAP.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, chief, ladies and gentlemen over here in the corner, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to come tonight. My name is Jonathan Deaver, and I'm a candidate for the Ohio House of Representatives for the 28th District. I'm here this evening to reacquaint myself with some of you, and for some of us it will be a first introduction, but many it's a reacquaintance. I'm in this race for many different reasons, but the first and foremost is to be your servant and to help you in the weeks, the months, and the years to come. My family has been serving this nation since the 1750s, believe it or not, since the French and Indian War. And my first ancestor, John Deaver, came over with General Braddock. And to kind of give you a perspective on how bad his life must have been, imagine a guy coming to you and making you the following deal. He said, "Sir, what I will give you is a free ride over an ocean which you've never traveled for 3 months. Statistically, you won't make it, and if When you land, you will march inland 1,500 miles to a little place called Fort Romney, which is a place in West Virginia. And from there, you will owe us service for at least 7 years or until the end of the war. He did that for one reason, because his life where he was that bad. And he made those choices and made those sacrifices so that someday at the end of those 7 years, he could walk into the woods without any help, without anyone's perseverance, but his own and his own fortitude, and hack out a living. It's that pioneer spirit that has made our state great. And for 8 generations, I'm proud to say that I've been in Ohio, and I'm raising my boys in Madeira, which I probably forgot to tell you at the very beginning. And my boys represent the 5th generation growing up there. Each generation of my family has served when needed, and that's why I'm actually running in this race. Our peers, as you know, continue to implement policies that put our reliance on centralized government and take it away from even you at the local level. And they reduce the ability of us citizens to govern ourselves in our daily lives. A father of 2 young boys as I am, with one getting ready to enter elementary school, it scares me to think that the elimination of cursive writing and spelling is actually a reality for some of the schools in the 20th district. So imagine a time when some of our kids are going to go to the nation's capital on their 8th grade field trip, and they're not going to be able to read the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, because we're creating standards that are unattainable for some and for others are not good enough. We can't afford to continue to lose our educated. Many of the folks that I know and you know, their children are leaving the state of Ohio, their grandchildren are leaving, and they're not coming home. We're doing that, and that's happening because we have a lack of leadership in new business and new technologies that we must embrace. The state of Ohio and its history has, and especially in this region, we have said no to certain technology in the past. Ford Enterprises, I don't know if you knew this, tried to relocate to our region not once but twice in the last century. We said no to the railroad, and it all went to Chicago, all that development, all that industry. And we've been saying no to the technology sectors. And it's been going to Raleigh, North Carolina, and Texas, and California, where it's making a huge economic impact and bettering people's lives. Yes, Mr. Mayor, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. A long time. What we're doing isn't working, and I'm here today to let you know that I am here to start something new, to be a bridge between you and the state government. I'm here to be at your service, not the other way around. I'm doing this because we need someone who actually cares about individuals and cares about the local government. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, and I'm at your disposal. I thank you for your time, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming out.
Okay, next item of business is reports of village officials, municipal manager, go back.
Thank you, Mayor. I need to catch up on our public records requests. It's been a couple months since I had a chance to collect them all before the meeting. We had none during the month of November in 2013, but we did have a few in December. On December 9th, we had a walk-in who requested the rental inspection completed by John Hester in 2009 for 123 Burley Circle. On December 17th, we had a request from Pat Anwan requesting copies of village rent checks for the Greenhills Post Office 2011 through 2014, a copy of the original and any subsequent village commercial leases on the Greenhills Post Office, and a copy of the Village of Greenhills Property Manager job description. On December 17th, we received a request from Pat Anwan for all village charts of accounts used for all village accounts from 1998 through 2013. Any record that depicts the conversion from old account codes to new uniform accounting account codes, and records depicting year-end totals for activities in all village accounts, financial accounts by individual account codes, including both CICs 2000 through 2013. In January, we received a request from Pat Anwan for electronic copy of the housing survey conducted by the National Inspection Corporation referenced in my letter to Winton Woods School District in October regarding the community reinvestment area. And on January 31st, I received a records request from John Willard requesting the address and latest appraised values of all residential buildings owned by the Village of Greenhills. A request on the number of rented and how many not rented residents and apartments owned by the village. The total real estate taxes now paid by the village on those residents, and a village plat showing the location of the apartments that we own. That was it for the public press category. And for my report, I really just want to follow up from some comments that I had made at our retreat regarding two positions that I am going to work on filling. One is the service department, and I did look, we do actually have multiple full-time positions allocated to that department, but we've only had 2 filled in recent history. Apparently in 2002 we had 5 full-time service workers, and I've got to give them a plug at this point because they are just doing one amazing job. This was a tough winter. The other one is in the rec, and we have had in the past a multitude of part-time positions that we used in that area that we no longer use. So I will use that for proceed on pursuing an event coordinator that I had mentioned. And we do have adequate funding in place for both of those positions at this point in time. So, and yeah, there are a couple things. One thing in particular, I do want to get back to something that just really shows what a quality staff that I have. During one of our worst snowfalls, we had an issue where one service department worker was just driving around looking for issues. It was brush collection, but we had a lot of snow and things that could cause problems, and he spotted water coming out of a resident's house. So, he knocked on all the doors around there. Nobody was home to try to figure out who owned his house, how to get a hold of him. He came back, worked with a staff member internally here, and finally through the waterworks, we were able to get a phone number. Fortunately, it was the guy's cell phone, and he was like hours away. And he was very grateful that we had detected this, and working with the police department, the service worker was able to get in there and turn off their water, and I just think it's wonderful. I mean, they don't miss things, they spotted it, and I just thought that was great work to be done on all the staff members who participated. So that they were great, and they would kill me if I named them, so. Anyway, I just, in case anybody's interested, I can also let you know we did a rough count last week, and it appears we spent about $14,000 so far on salt this year, so it's proving to be a very expensive year for us. And, we have many hours in overtime related to it, but probably not over yet. We can only hope. And I also have the exhibits that were part that go with your resolution, and I will wait on that to fulfill the legislation to walk you through those items.
Any questions of the manager?
I just want to add that since I have streets and services, I'm very much aware of the amount of work they have done cleaning the streets. In this particular, also a member of our working force there that did not take the the grieving time, the time off that he was allowed to take because it was so necessary for him to help the other, the foreman and the other workers as well, that he came to work and didn't use that time that he so needed. So we have a tremendous amount of workers in here that really put the well-being of the village ahead of anything else. So we are very, very fortunate.
We are. Thank you for this comment.
Any other questions? Moving on, the law director.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, I'll just tell you that I attended the Planning Commission meeting just prior to tonight's meeting. We can report that the proposed text amendment that was initiated by council is making its way through that process.
Any questions of the law director, whose name I didn't mention, Jeff Forbes?
Can I just add that the public hearing will be scheduled for April 8th. That's the first of two.
Yes.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, thank you.
I also wanted to say that I was at a meeting that Mr. Forbes did a presentation at the Hamilton County Municipal League. Did a fantastic presentation, and I urge him to send us the PowerPoint on the email for us. It was absolutely well executed, even though he got a little bit excited about all the little bubbles that he added on it and all the special effects and all that.
Yeah.
And I also had a very interesting lunch with one of the partners of your firm. He was at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and it was, we had a nice little chat, and a charming gentleman.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Clerk of Council, Catherine Lives.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All of these were posted as required. The January 2014 Community Calendar and Ordinance Number 2014-01 L&R, the 2014 Schedule of Council Meetings and Work Sessions, the Schedule of Meetings for the Recreation Commission, and notices of the 2/8/14 Council Retreat, the 2/18/14 Planning Commission meeting, the rescheduled council meeting of 2/18/14, and the cancellation notice of the 2/4/14 regular council meeting. And if there are no questions, that will conclude my report.
Okay. Hearing none. Chief of Police, you'll. I get tongue-tied every time I say your name.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I'll have it down eventually.
In January, we did hire what I think will be our last new officer for a while, I certainly hope. A young man by the name of Gregory Cameron Guilfoyle, and he's in training this month. We did have some effort put into some year-end analyses that are required by accreditation and should be done at in any police department. We took a look at our use of force, our pursuits, our agency practices in the area of bias-based policing, including any citizen concerns. We continue to work towards our reaccreditation, which 1 month from today, our assessors should be leaving town. They are scheduled to arrive on Sunday, March 16th. They'll be working all day that day, and then on Monday the 17th, and we'll be concluding their work here on March 18th, as I mentioned. There will be a telephone session where interested citizens can give them a call on Monday afternoon, and right here in this chamber at 5:30 on Monday, March 17th, they'll be conducting a public hearing. We have 2 law enforcement professionals, a captain from Missouri and a deputy chief from Maine, who will be our assessors. We did conduct a mock on-site assessment on February 6th, and that was conducted by Fairfield Police Chief Mike Dickey, who's about a 25-year veteran FALIA team leader, and he was assisted by his accreditation manager and also a lieutenant and sergeant from nearby Springfield Township. They did tell us after a whole day of looking at our files that in their opinion, had we had the actual on-site on that day, that we would have passed. However, they did give us a long list of things we can do to improve that, and we've since followed through with their recommendations. We applied for funding last year to the Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, and we were fortunate enough to secure partial funding. So we're going to be moving ahead, and we actually completed the paperwork today. The municipal manager signed the documents to process the grant. We believe that we're going to be able to purchase probably about 2 of the 4 video cameras that we requested, and coincidentally 2 of the ones that we have, which this will make you smile, still use VHS tapes. Have been it's difficult to find.
I still have some.
But at any rate, 2 of those have ceased to function, so that will be perfect, and we'll get to work this year on trying to secure additional funding to replace the other 2. We had an interesting partnership developed with the Forest Park Police Department. Interestingly, their training supervisor has the last name of Ward. Our training supervisor has the same last name, and it seems that they collaborated to provide joint training, which is being provided at no charge from the Ohio Attorney General's office. So we are going to have both a firearms simulator and a driving simulator that will be mobile. It will be located somewhere in this vicinity, possibly in our parking lot or theirs, or a suitable facility that we are able to find. And this will provide free state-of-the-art training to both our officers and officers from the Forest Park Police Department. And I certainly don't have to tell any of you that in this age of government cutbacks, this is the kind of thing that we have to do to stay up with the training that keeps our officers sharp. During the month of January, we investigated 2 traffic accidents. We were fortunate in that, probably due to the cold weather, we only had 3 crimes. 152 other incidents, we had 784 contacts with citizens. 198 of those were dispatched or received by telephone, and 586 of those were self-initiated by our officers. We provided assistance to the public in 96 instances and assisted other agencies 36 times, and made 38 criminal arrests and 72 traffic arrests. I would like to follow up with something that was said a little bit earlier. On the 4th of this month, I had a call from Mike Castor, our service foreman, and he was out at a residence in the village on Japonica, and he called in to report that an elderly man had gone out to see if he could shovel the snow and had fallen. And he thought that it would be a good idea if someone were to check him out. We happened to have an officer on duty that day, that's also a Greenhills volunteer firefighter. And when the officer got over there, he checked him out. We did summon the squad to take another look at him, and the gentleman said, "I'm fine, I decline any further assistance, I don't need to go to the hospital." Checked him out, and it looked as if everything was going to be fine. But I did want to mention that before the firefighters and the police officer left the scene, his driveway was entirely shoveled. So that's the kind of community assistance that you like to see from both the police, fire, and service departments. And it was a great team effort to complement what Yvonne has already pointed out. Thank you.
Any questions of the chief?
I just have one question, Chief. Under the other incidents, when it says other disturbances, the 47, what does that usually refer to?
Other disturbances. I'm going to have to find out what really. My guess is that would be, maybe if we investigate whether there's a fight or some other type of disturbance, but I'll get you an exact answer.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like a miscellaneous category or something, but since the number was higher, I was curious.
I'll get you an exact answer on that. Thanks.
And I had a question, how much does a camera cost these days?
The video camera comes with a lot of software to integrate it into the computer system and so forth, and you're looking roughly at about $4,000 to get the kind of hardened camera that'll survive on a cruise.
Wow.
Okay, fire chief's not here this evening, Anthony Spade. In my report, do not have the audited court receipts, so I don't have that to report on. We do have, the county has their budget book out, and the Greenhills Municipal Building sign out front is featured on it.
Oh.
So they had emailed us and asked us a while back if it was acceptable to use this. Sure. Let's take a look at that. Okay, committee reports. Well, anybody have a question?
Wait a minute, I got a bunch.
I thought when I was Googling Greenhills that there was a TV special that you were part of, or I saw your photograph pop up.
Yeah, so somebody from WCPO interviewed me, talked to me, and so it was on WCPO.com. I didn't see it, but I had a couple other people seen it, so they liked it. So if you go to WCPO, in addition to David Moore, or Greenhills, it would come up. I just talked a little bit about the history, and they wanted to know what I've accomplished as mayor, and of course, the time she talked to me, I think I've been mayor 17 days, so I had accomplished mine.
Now it's like
And then she did bring up one thing that made Kenny Burke happy, something that a lot of people don't know about Greenhills. And I said, I'm going to make a cowboy. Gave him applause. Okay, committee reports. Recreation and Cable TV, Mr. Hermes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We had our recognition meeting. It was a very fruitful meeting. Discussed description as far as what our commission members, what their responsibilities are. And advisory for sure was one. And a few of the members that are there, don't want to say names, and then they had a lot of good information as far as what was back at the ordinances and the charters and so on, and things have changed so much. And so it was a good meeting to where we can feel comfortable as far as, what their job is. And then we continued to talk about some other things as far as our walking paths and getting that going, and the walking, as far as doing the walking and running, it's going to start sometime in March, and that'll be online, as well as probably one call now and that type of thing. But looking forward to the event coordinator, if that's going to be happening here soon, that'd be awesome, so we can talk to that person and get them organized and what's happening for this week. And our next meeting is on the 12th, right?
Lisa.
March 12th, 7 o'clock. That's it.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, finance and audit, Mr. Reeves?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some comments about how we finished the year and what we anticipate from a finance standpoint for 2014. And I'm going to round these numbers to the nearest 1,000. So last year, our revenue from all sources, that would be income taxes, property taxes, speeding tickets in the village of Greenhills, rent, building permits, were $4,141,000. And of that $4,141,000, we spent as a village $3,890,000. So we were in the black. We did not spend more than we took in. And as somebody alluded to earlier, we have bonds, and that's just IOUs. Think of them as IOUs that we owe for money that we borrowed in the past. And that amount of payments for the various bonds in 2014 will be $648,000. In 2015 will be $667,000. And in 2016 will be $674,000. And then it drops pretty significantly. It drops by almost $100,000 in 2017. So as a finance committee, rather than looking at just one year, we've looked at multiple years, and we've tried to build some reserves for these more difficult years. We've refinanced all the debt that we are able to do so by the terms of the debt. And for those of you that are fiscal hawks, we did not extend any time periods. The only thing we did was, where we were able to, if we could make 2 payments in a year rather than one at the end of the year, we did that, and we lowered the interest rates on those bonds. So the next couple of years are going to be tight. And speaking of those next couple of years, in 2014, we anticipate total revenues of $3,850,000. And so roughly, we're going to be down about $300,000 this year in revenue, and that's predominantly from the loss of the inheritance tax and a reduction in the local government fund. And we've spoken previously about the loss of the inheritance tax and what that meant to us, and I think everybody that's run for an elected office has taken a stand on that. I find it immoral to take taxes out of a dead man, but that comes at a cost to us. And we had, it had been a good source of funds for us over the past several years, and I've talked about that previous meeting. So our anticipated revenue will be $3,850,000, and For those of us that are in the workforce, our income tax produces, we're anticipating about $1 million of that, $3,850,000 coming from income tax. So, and then we have separate funds where that revenue is received. And our biggest fund is the general fund, and that's $1,664,000, and of that $1,664,000 comes from the income tax. We get money for streets from various sources, so that's our revenue side of the picture. On the expense side of the picture, we actually anticipate spending more than we take in this year. Again, driven mostly by the bonds and payment of those, and that's kind of a planned thing. If you look at our actual expenses by category, there are very few that are actually up with the exception of what we pay in debt. So our total appropriations for 2014 we anticipate to be $4,290,000, and you can see that we're actually going to spend more than we take in this year if we end up appropriating and in fact spending that. So that's our budget, kind of a little overview for you. But from a financial standpoint, we had a very good year last year, and we will continue to watch the budget closely and spend your tax dollars prudently.
Thank you, Mr. Dries. Any questions? Hearing none. The Intergovernmental Affairs, Laws and Rules Committee, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On January 27th, the Village Council Committee on the Intergovernmental Affairs and Laws and Rules did meet at the request of council. A couple matters that came before the committee was to further emphasize to council members where they could to set dates for your individual committee meetings, in spite of whether you anticipate them meeting or not, having a date set, and then canceling it in advance appropriately. And out of that we did set a meeting date for the Planning Commission, which we did meet this evening to address the issues before the Planning Commission. The primary purpose of the meeting, though, was to take up a question that was raised concerning the ordinance 2014-01 laws and rules concerning the council, mayor's call to council of order, specifically the notation of the moment of silence or reflection that may be offered. What the committee did find was that there is no current statute or regulation of either a prayer or a moment of silence to be required within the rules of council call to order. In spite of the previous rules of council noting that a prayer may be offered, no known practice of a prayer had ever been given in village council meetings in the past 30 to 35 years. As a matter of note, tonight our moment of silence might have been a first in quite some time. Passage of the ordinance on January 7th was in accordance with the village charter, providing the rules of council may be amended with the intended prior notice, giving council the ability to set rules, meeting order, as well as meeting times. The use of the word may or may be offered from the legal dictionary states is a choice to act or not, or a promise of possibility, or distinguished from shall, which makes it an imperative. There is no statute or regulation that exists in this particular case, whether it's may or shall. The question had been raised by Mr. Dries on several occasions prior to notice to the proposed changes to the rules of council. Councilman Drees noted the ongoing legal concerns relative to prayer within a public meeting. We did bring forth the fact that there is currently a case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, Greece, New York versus Galloway, that was argued in November 2013, and an unexpected decision on that case by the Supreme Court in June will address the issue. And there were some news articles that were presented at that time. So I think the unfortunate use of the words unlawful and unconstitutional as far as council actions are perhaps misplaced. Some meetings that were attended, Mrs. Walther attended the Winton Woods Board of Education meeting on January 27th. She also attended Senator Portman's pancake breakfast on February 8th, representing council. There is a letter at your place tonight, just a refresher. This is a draft letter that will be coming to you as far as a formal letter that will be sent to State Senator Seitz. I think we probably ought to cover a couple of other people as well, if we can, regarding substitute House Bill 5 and opposition of that, as that will have a significant loss of income to the village with its passage. The next scheduled meeting of Laws and Rules is scheduled for next Monday, the 24th. Probably be making a decision later this week whether that's necessary and therefore council. Upcoming dates: the Winton Woods Board of Education does meet next Monday night on the 24th, and I'm assuming Ms. Brokaw and I will be attending the regional training series for newly elected council members on March 1st. And somehow I've managed to lose the date for the Sunshine.
March 24th.
But that was
In
that
Hamilton,
local?
Ohio.
Oh, in Hamilton, okay.
Thanks to Ms. Holbach, she brought that up. We don't have to go to Columbus. And as many of us as we can, I'm planning, I already took it 2 years ago, but I'm planning on going back and retaking it.
Okay.
There's certain nuances that would be very helpful to revisit.
All right. So that'll be coming up on the 24th. Any questions?
May I add something?
Certainly.
Okay. I'm the co-chair, and there was a need of having someone from the municipality to be in a forum for votes at the Hamilton County Public Health meeting. That is on March the 3rd. It's a Monday. And I already responded to that. They would like 2 people to go. Here's the, I printed out the application for it and the phone number if you would like to call. Again, if someone else can join me there. I also would like to remind you that we have the next Hamilton County Municipal League meeting is March 31st. We also have the local Republican Club meeting at the Spaghetti Factory, and it's going to have someone doing a presentation that is going to be running against Dusty Rhodes, our county auditor, and he's going to be present at that time. The dinner is on your own at 6, and then the event occurs at 7.
Was there anything else, Mrs. Ward?
Oh, I think that's it, sir.
The date at the Republican Club?
The Republican Club is 2:25. At 6 if you want to stay there for dinner, and at 7 if you just want to attend the program.
obligated to give equal time to, if there's a Democrat clause?
Well,
I would think.
well, the one thing we talked about at the retreat is making sure that we stayed on track on what the committee is about. And I'm a Republican, but I don't see how that fits this particular committee.
All right, and I'll just eliminate it in the
Well,
future.
I mean, is that, any disagreement? No. Another thing that I'd like to do at some point, if you're entertaining questions, is the whole prayer topic. I guess it was brought up, but was it in the minutes? Did we find out if it was in the minutes prior to this?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't recall, and it could have been something I missed. The first time I had heard about it, it was part of that discussion when the ordinance was brought to the table, and I think I had all of 10 seconds to digest what was, that was part of it. I think it warrants a little deeper discussion, or at least some discussion, maybe at a work session, based on your findings. And I had met with Tony, and I appreciate his passion about the topic. But I would love to have more of a dialogue on that topic at some point.
Agreed.
Mr. Mayor, also would like, since Mr. Holden brought the point, at one time, I was instructed also that on the laws and rules, I was a liaison to the library and was a liaison to the school system. Do you want me to continue to bring those dates or anything forward or not?
Well, I think
If you would like to pass those things along to me, I'd be happy to present them.
Okay.
Well, and some of those also might be appropriate at the end when you ask for the dates that are upcoming. Is that, or if they don't match the committee as well.
That's right.
I mean, I don't think we want to hold a really rigid line, but the point is just trying to stay on topic based on our committee responsibilities.
okay, next, hearing no further discussion, Service and Streets Committee, Ms. Walter.
We met, and I forwarded the minutes to Mrs. Lives. Present there was Ms. Kova, Mr. Moore, Mr. Hermes, and myself. And we decided at the time that if you wanted at the retreat some kind of a listing and guidance of what we needed to do, here's the list. I got one copy for Mr. Hermes, one for Ms. Kovac, one for Mr. Moore, and one for Mrs. Lives. And those are the items that we had talked and discussed, although I do remember, Mr. Mayor, you talked about the spoils field being part of recreation. I have no problem with that. I just want to make sure that since it was brought up to me, that it doesn't get somehow shuffled, and it seems like there is a critical need for attention to that. The potential of liability for the stands, it's at risk here, and perhaps it can be a joint effort. Could be not all the money is coming out from one place or the other, but maybe from both places. As I understand, we're going to have a championship coming here at the end of the summer as well. So I stand corrected, and I know that it was discussed on the recreation, but please, if I can be of any assistance, or if I would be let know what's going on, I will tell, or somebody will tell Mr. Castor that, because it seems like he addressed me on that position, and that's why I took it on.
He addressed you on the position of the stands?
Yes, I had a meeting with him for 2 hours, and he had mentioned that, and that was as part of the services. And we also talked about the rust on the outside part of the building, of the maintenance building, that I feel like we are very fortunate this time that we have not been cited by Forest Park. And I would like to perhaps address that and have perhaps some estimates for our next meeting and further discussion on that.
Any questions, Service and Streets? And with your concern, I might add on the bleachers, probably should attend the Recreation Commission meeting to make it known your
The time they're entertaining questions, so I'm not a part of the table discussion, and that's why I think that's what it was brought to me, and I took it as part, I was told that was part of services, student services.
I gotta talk to Mike about that.
I would think though, in a situation like that, if I haven't been to a lot of the recreation meetings, and some formats of committees allow for residents and other people that aren't on the committee to speak into the committee, but if the mayor asks you to come, we better have an open door, in my opinion, and hear what you have to say. So, I mean, I wouldn't think it would be a problem. Come share your thoughts on it, and we would welcome them.
Okay, moving on, Community Development Committee, Mr. Hall.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had the second annual I Love Greenhills Dinner and Dance this past Saturday. It was well attended. We had 104 attendees. I felt like it was a lot of fun for everybody. Maybe not as much fun for me at times, but a couple friends of mine said, "Why don't you relax?" I was trying really hard to relax, but also help make things happen. A couple things that didn't get called out as well as I'd like is the Historical Society donated a wonderful basket for our silent auction. Wanted to thank them. Also, Peggy Hermes helped me out with some information too, and my committee, especially Diana and Doug Kohler and Dr. Patricia Bender just did a great job with the silent auction. All through the year with the 75th anniversary events, just have had a lot of strong committee support, and they've been just great to work with. And there's a number of ways to look at the numbers from the event. Total amount for the silent auction brought in $594, and I would say that I think it was a win-win. The people that got some of the large prints and the banners got a good deal on those banners and 75th memorabilia. But on the other hand, we also were able to, recoup some funds and direct those towards a possible drinking fountain on the village common. Allotting, we have a certain amount in the budget. I believe it's $1,500 for this year for 75th anniversary events, and using a portion of that allows us virtually to break even on the event, which was good with our rate. We had higher costs with meals this year because Destiny's gave us a tremendous break last year when we had it. So all in all, I think it was a good event. If anybody that attended had, or even if you didn't attend, if you have any suggestions on follow-up events, and especially as we wind down on the 75th, we're hoping to have a number of the events be reoccurring. Harvest Festival, for example, the I Love Greenhills Dinner, Community Day at the pool. We're looking forward to having that stick around. A couple other things is Jack and I had talked about meeting as community development. It was my subcommittee of design and beautification that helped me with and has been helping with the 75th events. I thought I'd do an aerial view of just a year, looking at a year. We've picked May 19th, August 18th, and December 17th to meet as a community development committee. At this point, it'd be Jack Lee and myself. But we'll get those dates posted on the Greenhills calendar and out where they need to be posted. I went ahead and threw on here council and work sessions in case you wanted to look at those. If you see value, I can drop in other key dates. The only reason I did it this way is sometimes we have a tendency to get real focused on a month and not realize how we're clustering lots and lots of meetings together. And this at least gives us the ability to see gaps and what might make sense to drop other meetings in. And at the appropriate time, Mr. Mayor, I have a resolution that I'd like to introduce.
Comments or questions?
Hey, can I mark mine on this calendar?
I'll mark yours on, if you want, unless you want to.
I would love to have the street and services there as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I'm gonna drop in the other, committees and
Okay.
commissions.
What color am I gonna have?
Pink.
Like that color.
Many of those dates are already on the.
They're on the,
They're on the website.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, they are. And the only reason, I just tend to like to look at it over the whole year, but I'll drop them in, and if it's a help, I can email this to you, and if not, then ignore it.
Jeff, I have one question.
Sure.
I believe that there's a time capsule somewhere,
Yes, that is our last 75th anniversary.
and I don't wanna know where that is, because if you announce it, someone might take it before then. But when is the date when that will be opened, or is that
In
yet to
April.
be determined?
In April, I think it would be, where's April first fall on this for us? We may move that just a little bit to get
Move to
ready.
April?
No. April first isn't that when they first moved in? Okay, so that falls on a Tuesday, so we may do it either the Saturday, have an event Saturday before, or the following Saturday, or something like that, just so more people can attend, is my thinking at this point.
Okay.
But that'll be our final 75th anniversary event, barring the water fountain now that we're responsible for. So, unless we can pass that baton.
You get yourself in trouble.
Thank you, Jeff.
Moving on, traffic and safety, Ms. Brokaw.